All right, let's start sending some data. When you send data or in an xAPI system, right, you need a data provider, right, a source. And there's a few ways to go about doing this. You can use existing e-learning authoring tools, which means if you've got one, you probably already have a tool on your desktop, on your computer, that actually sends xAPI data. So yay you. We'll talk about those. You can ask your product vendor to send the data. You can use an aggregator like xAPI apps to assemble a bunch of things that aren't xAPI into a learning pathway that is. It's like magic. You can write some custom code. The software itself isn't hard. Software developers are like, yeah, whatever. That's how you want the data? Okay. So it's not complicated technology. Or you can import it in batch or via API from your business data. So there's lots of ways to get data. Let's start with the thing most likely for us in the e-learning space, or if you're in that learning instructional design space, is your e-learning authoring tools. As you take a look at these, I am sure you will find something you recognize. Most of them are going to send data that looks a lot like SCORM, just expressed as xAPI, which is really underwhelming. Some of them, out of the box, are going to send great xAPI data on everything that happens on a screen, and that's pretty cool. And some you can extend with JavaScript. And so being able to add JavaScript triggers, so when somebody clicks this button, send this data, you can make it work for you. There's a few articles and papers out. You can ask any of the software providers, tell me about your xAPI. I strongly recommend that you do that. But let's take a look at some of the things you can do with xAPI in an e-learning space, right? Simply because that's where many people are going to start. If you stop there, if that's all you do, you're missing the whole boat, right? We said xAPI does more than just e-learning. But take a look at this. I can be looking at a complex interaction screen like this, and I can start tracking data on what pieces of audio got listened to for how long. What pieces of audio got listened to more than one time? What did people select as their answer, inspecting or coaching? Did people change their answer after they got the feedback? I can find out all sorts of things. Did people notice this subtle little hint in the upper right-hand corner of the screen? And did the people who noticed that do any better on the interaction? Try about this one, right? So here's Mike. How do you coach Mike? You're going to listen to a sales call that Mike makes, and now you need to coach him. And so you type in your answer on how you would coach Mike. And we can get these answers out. So where before we were just talking about our quantitative data, this is qualitative data. Can we actually coach Mike to make more sales? Are the learners picking up what we're putting down? Are they adjusting their answers and their approach to coaching Mike as a result of the feedback we're going to give them after they put this in? So this isn't machine scored. This is simply extracting this data, and then a human or a machine can read that afterwards. And all of a sudden, right, these screens are just from Articulate Storyline, right? But all of a sudden, by adding some JavaScript to Articulate Storyline, I can get some really interesting stuff out of this. But after all that excitement about what we can learn about what happens inside of an e-learning course, because I know you're excited, don't stop there, right? I want you to think about all the other providers that have data you can use, and if they're sending it using xAPI, you can put it all in the same soup and start making some really interesting analysis. So there are other tools that support xAPI that send data in that you can be adding to the mix and getting a much more rich picture of what's happening in the learning and then ultimately in the performing experience.